呈现，拥抱着冬夜里每个日落在呈现。
Hello and welcome to another game of Basic Impetus 2 with me, your host Taphocles. And today we have my current favourite army, the Western Han, up against Seljuk Turks, a cavalry army. Lots of mobility, could be a tricky one. We're playing this beginning of December and readiness for the tournament in January. Right, so looking at the Seljuk army, and you can see that option 2 has been taken, which means that the greyed out there, the Kurdish and Syrian medium cavalry, which are 5-2 but don't shoot, have been traded for the green ones there, the Turkomans. Extra good light cav, VBU4, sorry, that do shoot with the composite bows. So that's the trade in there. I have to say, I can't think of any reasons why you wouldn't take that. There are a couple of other options to trade in cavalry for more sort of skirmishes and light stuff, or trade in the skirmishes for another unit of light cavalry. But they're shown in pink there, a little bit confusing because all those units are correct and present. So basically we're looking at 6 units of cavalry, 1 of light infantry, and 2 skirmishes. Over to Western Han now, where definitely one of my favourite armies. And this is going to be a good test for them because they haven't really been up against a mobile cavalry army. They're not the most mobile and not really long range shooting, so this could be tricky. You need to close in on them. The strength of this army, my favourite unit, is the heavy chariot, although it does move slowly, so it's going to be difficult in this battle perhaps. A couple of medium calves, we can match him, only one of which shoot. 2 light cav, only one of which shoot. So slightly outgunned on the cavalry, but not much. 5. Where there is an advantage is the light infantry, the halberdiers and swordsmen there, I should say FL next to those. And they can go large unit with the regular crossbowmen, but I think in this instance I've kept them separate. I might want to use the shooting separately to the pole arms. I think you can play it either way. Depends, I think because I'm expecting a wide gain with cavalry, I've gone that way. And then only 1 unit of skirmishers, the conscript foot. So there's another unit of light infantry, 4-2, not too bad really, and some more skirmishers, which are 3-0, but the skirmishers, extra dice might be useful. There's a quick look at the Chinese. It's our second game of the evening, so we didn't spend a lot of time with setup photographs and all that, but you'll see the figures in other games. Alright, so we go for, I think it's supposed to be in the scouting, and Roger's got +1 on the cavalry and rolled more, and deployed his scenery. So this is how the terrain has gone down. I'm quite keen to have the difficult terrain. So being Han, you can choose cavalry or foot table. I've gone for the foot table. I want some places to plunk my infantry because he doesn't have very much of that. And if I can find a nice safe spot, because this is which is the lower of the two, difficult. So my light infantry can operate in there without getting disordered or slow down. And similarly, the shooters, my crossbows, can go in there without being disordered. So it really suits this army, and I've got enough space for the cavalry. But as he has more cavalry than I do, I don't mind that being a bit limited. And then curiously, my opponent put down that impassable at the top, those sort of steep brown hills at the far back, to block that corner off. He didn't want anything coming around that flank. We had a chat about it afterwards, where the thinking of it was. And it was to kind of close the battlefield into a loop for his cavalry to come around into. So I've had to start deploying first because the foot go down, and I've lost the scouting. And I've decided I'll keep my options a little bit open here. They're a bit higgledy-piggledy with angles. So I'm thinking I'll probably want to go into that difficult terrain in the middle. Whichever side he goes, I can then have a point to shoot at him or control his flanks if he tries to come around. I've also got, I had to put a unit on the far right just to not let that be given up for free. And I've actually got skirmishers even further right, which we can't see on this picture. And I'm thinking if he doesn't occupy that corner, I might occupy my infantry. And I can actually set up my own little castle in the corner. So I haven't quite worked out what the Seljuks are up to. So I've had to deploy a little bit of guesswork going on. My chariots are far enough back that they can turn off to the left if it looks like they're going to be needed that way, or straight up through the gap if we need to clear out that area. Medium cav also lurking back, so I can go either way. As in the infantry, hopefully flexible. Interesting trying to deploy against a cavalry army, we just don't know where they're going to go. I'm not going to castle up in the corner. Right, so this is where we end up with. I've seized the centre, and you can see on the far left there, this is the bulk of the Seljuk cavalry. It's slightly confusing in the centre, in the difficult terrain, because he's actually got 2 units there. The skirmishers are protecting some sort of foot, not particularly good ones. And then 3 units over the far side. And my immediate thought is, I'm going to grab those 3. I'm quite happy if I dive into that corner and destroy those 3, I can then turn around and defend that corner, and the difficult terrain will mean his cavalry come funneling through the gap. I just need to make sure they don't escape. I'm being a bit greedy here, though. I'm going to try and pick off the unit in the centre difficult terrain as well. And then his cavalry they're going to be stuck out in that open area, and they can have all of it and run around to their heart's content and hopefully not threaten me. So my cav wants to lurk back a bit and just hold off, not really engage this side unless I have to, and hopefully clear up that top right as quickly as possible. Might require the chariot as well. I've got about 4 units over there. If that goes wrong and becomes a long slow battle and his cavalry outflanks me, then basically he's doing to me what I'm trying to do to him. And I'll lose on both sides. Okay, so we roll off, and I lost initiative. So here they come, and he's been aggressive there. Doesn't want to just give me that difficult terrain in the centre. Although I have got the shooters coming up in front of the chariot as well, and I think they're walking into a bit of a suicide spot there. But I can see why he wants that, not to give me that terrain. Put a bit of pressure on me, I suppose. And on the far right, you can now see my skirmishers right over on the far right of that difficult terrain, the fields there. And the spears coming through the middle. And hopefully I'm going to cut them off. And if I can take those 3 out, it's a bonus start on the points. And I can give all the ground I want and then come back using that corner as my base. So we look something like this. Oh, the one thing I should point out is my light cav in the centre acting as a screen for the medium cav behind them. And again I go second, which is a bit frustrating, so I really want to block off that corner. Especially as you see the top corner there is light cavs trying to escape. Covered by his skirmishers. So I'm trying to get a zone of control on his light cav. But he's also put them parallel to the edge of the table so they can go straight ahead. And I can't quite block that corner off. So I'm going to be very aggressive, otherwise I've fallen for the trap. I'm going to have 4 units running off to that corner, nothing to fight, while the rest of my army gets wiped out. So it's a bit of a nerve-wracker over there. And I've, in the main piece of difficult terrain in the centre, I've gone stomping in there to try and deal with those guys, basically. Oh, right. Okay, so this is me trying to stand off. These are my non-shooty light cav. If you remember, the Han Chinese have a shooty light cav and a 4-2 shooty one. These are quite tough, but they're no good in a shooting match. So, charged with the skirmishers. Let's find out now. If we're going to lose this, I'd rather lose it quickly, and then I can readjust my plans. It's going to be difficult, at least I know where I am. And luckily got the hit! And then the Seljuks rolled a 1 on the cohesion test. So disordered those skirmishers, but didn't destroy them. So it's a bit frustrating when you get the 6 and still don't do what you want to do. So I've looked, and I actually turned these light infantry, and they go in for the long bomb charge. They need to get their bonus distance, and then they can come in as a flanking unit, and hopefully the extra dice will polish off those skirmishers. Double dipping. And sure enough, they went in, did the damage. Now, the skirmishers, being the main unit in the combat, they get to do their follow-up. So they do their follow-up. I can't see anything in the rules which says, even though the initiative is 0, they don't do this. So if you can find that, it used to be restricted in the old full impetus, but in this game, don't seem to be. So now they have the bonus of charging into his light cav. It's a lottery, because I think mine are the Peggy 3s. They haven't been touched. So I'm getting 3 dice, he's getting 3 dice. It's luck of the dice. But I have got the light infantry coming up behind. Although I don't say they're going to catch the light cav if we lose it, but there we are. So the light cav at the bottom are moving to the side to get out the direct line of all that nasty shooting medium cav. These guys don't shoot, remember, which I think is probably the wrong light cav for this job. There you go. Now the centre, this is where my sort of attempt at the beginning and during deployment to use all the angles to keep my options open is really coming back to bite me now, because while light infantry and shooters can interpenetrate each other, if they don't quite clear the base they're landing on, that base gets moved directly back until it is clear. So for example, if the crossbows just above the cavalry move forward and get out of the way of my cavalry, which I'd like them to do, all they're going to effectively do is move the spearmen back, which would be leaving their flank hanging out for that cavalry and still blocking off the medium cav. So this is becoming a little bit of a pickle, and I need that infantry to really go and take out those guys in the difficult terrain, which is going to need a wheel, unfortunately, which will disorder them. So that's tricky. The one thing I've got, though, is the crossbows there ready to shoot in as soon as that starts kicking off. Yeah, so he's playing this quite cannily here, because the skirmishers keep jumping in the way, which stops my shooters getting past to shoot his vulnerable unit. So skirmishers going to jump into the front, but it does bring him a little bit nearer, and I've got to sort this little bit of a mess out here. So medium cav will be free in a second, and I want to get those shooters turning. And see little arrows there, starting to the one shouldn't shoot the guys in the back. And what I really need to do now is, this is very vulnerable. They were open to a flank attack, so I've got to get those guys forward, out of the way of his cavalry. Get the shooters turned round to start shooting his cavalry, and the rest just be a nuisance. Oh, and then fate took a hand on the far right. As you said, we had both had Peggy 3s in a melee, both rolled 3 dice. I got the double 5 hit, and he rolled a 5 or 6, which destroyed his light cav. Unfortunately, he got a hit and destroyed my skirmishers. But I'll trade a unit of skirmishers for light cav in this situation every day of the week. And so no escaping around there, and also it means my light infantry are freed up to turn around and try and get back into the game. Unfortunately, not as fast as they used to be. Yeah, and in the top right hand corner you can see Roger's playing sneaky again here, because he's moved his light cavalry out of the charge arc of my medium cav, and really close to my light cav, but not touching them, not engaging them, just so he can shoot at point blank range and try and get a lucky hit that way, or shoot the medium cav. And my medium cav is going to get out of the way in order for my light cav to charge him or shoot him or whatever. I managed to block myself up a bit there, trying to be a bit too clever, and I've got this problem of the overlap in the bottom left hand corner with this light cav. Could really do it going first, and for once we actually do go first. So the medium cav couldn't, even turning, they wouldn't have enough turning to turn and charge on his light cav, which would have been a nice trick. So they had to move forward to get out of the way. I think my light cav decided to go for the charge, and he's evaded. So as they're running around with that light cav unit, basically I'm being hoisted by my own petard, one of my favourite tactics. Well, and I have to remember that my light cavalry with the crossbows there are actually non-shooting. So they can either retreat and try and get further away. But I don't really want to be outflanked. I think in the end I've just shoved them across a bit, done a sideways move and shot to try and get some casualties. Unfortunately that failed. Well, I've wheeled actually, not gone sideways. Which has allowed him to get the charge on me. And as you can see, 2 6s, 2 5s. I think 4 dice already rolled. That's 3 hits. I got 1 back, thank goodness. And sometimes 1 is all you need, because he rolled 5 in his cohesion test. So they were Peggy 3s, took a hit down to 2, roll a 5, all 3 gone. And fortunately, my guys rolled a 6. So they are really gone. So those two blew each other up, which does narrow the game, which helps me, because I don't have anything else to do this flank. And he's cutting that corner a bit narrow. How do you cut a corner? A bit fine, a bit sharp. Anyway, the difficult terrain's going to come into play. And as you can see, I managed to rejig it now, with the spearmen are now in the difficult terrain and charging forwards. The archers have come up behind, getting ready to shoot his cavalry, and I'm using that corner just to make it a bit tricky to charge me. There's a few arrows trying to explain what is going on there. And he's trying to use his skirmishers to protect and shoot, try and get a lucky hit. And my light cav at the top is going to try and chase his light cav off so that my other cavalry and the light infantry can come back over here. The dice upside down, but I am the green dice, and I got to go first, which I really needed this turn. So I've taken lots of photographs. The skirmishers have tried to shoot, they've gone to the back. My main unit has gone for the charge. and needed to roll the charge bonus to make it. Rolled a 1 and failed, which means they're now disordered and stuck in front of him, which is a bit of a pain. Does leave him a bit vulnerable, but they are 5-3s, so I'm hoping they can still handle it. The light cav, I finally trapped him in the corner, charged. And I got the +1 dice, 4 dice against 3. Took a hit, and then rolled a 6. So unfortunately, just lost my light cav. Bit clumsy play by me there. You gamble, sometimes you lose your gambles. So now I've got that light cav is a real nuisance, because I'd like to vacate that corner and get my fighting units back to the main battle. So the advantage of his skirmishers now being behind his main unit is that my crossbows do get to shoot into his infantry, hopefully weaken them up. You can see the spears there with a failed charge. Roger started doing his moves, ready for his next turn. The skirmishers are going to try and jump back out to start shooting. There's not much of a gap there. Might be able to squeeze them in or have them attack my bows. Now I do like to use them separately quite often. To me, it seems a little bit of a waste with the crossbows to put them in a large unit, because as soon as the melee starts, all they're doing is taking wounds. They're not really helping. They do keep your main spearmen alive, but if they're going to win anyway, because you can use the shooting to soften them up, well, you won't have much left after the melee, but at least you will have a fully intact shooting unit still on the table. And I would say more useful than spearmen usually. So I'd really be interested if people could leave some comments on what they think about large units, and if you should always take them with these shooters. It does make a very powerful unit, but separately they're powerful as well. And meanwhile, at the bottom, you see my cavalry opening up with 4 dice and missing. Sorry, my crossbows opening up 4 dice and his cav are missing, which is a shame. And also the cavalry at the bottom, I think, failing to hit as well. So the spears have piled in, and as you can see, they've hit nothing at all, but rolled low on the cohesion test, thank goodness. So the light cav have gone charging in. The other green dice at the top are to do with something else. That's my melee over there that I just fought. The only green dice I've rolled are these, where I got the hit, and this was defensive fire, which makes a big difference. The days just picking off archers have gone. 2 hits on the defensive fire, bad roll on the cohesion test, 6. Boom. Even though it's shooting, that's them gone. And that potentially is a bit of a game changer, because now the Seljuks really don't have that big majority on this flank anymore. It's been whittled down. They've lost 2 light cav and the medium cav, who are really tough, mind, and shoot really well, but now they haven't got any protection, and my archers are waiting for a go. Yes, whereas Roger's using his light cavalry on the other flank very cannily, and they are being a real nuisance. And he's positioning them so they get point blank range shooting to the medium cav, and I can't wheel to get them out to the charge arc, just outmaneuvering the medium cav. Luckily, the light infantry have reappeared from the far right. Now Roger's also positioning his light cav, so they just line up to flank charge my chariots, which might look a bit suicidal. If he could win that, though, that would be, a disaster. And it also, something I want you to look at for next turns, is a lot going on this slide. I've had a couple of goes at it, to be honest. You've got the shooters in that difficult terrain, and directly trapped, if you like, stuck behind them is the chariot. Now, if the chariot advances, which it really wants to do, especially with its flank now attacked, or vulnerable, shall we say, it has to go forward before it can wheel. So looking at it, I couldn't see how I could wheel the shooters enough to get out of his movement. And even if they went forward, they only go forward half a base because of the movement restriction. And I think the chariot still just clips them. So what I'm going to do is try and move them so that they're in a position that when they do get clipped, they'll come back in the direction I want them. So I'm actually going to wheel them a bit. So you can do some of the things you can do with interpenetration. You have to think a little bit ahead. It's unfortunate they can't just shoot into that melee, which is ongoing, or have enough wheel to get round for his light cav. But if you think about how a rectangle wheels, the corner would come and clip the chariot. So it's a little bit awkward, that one. So fortunately we get to go first, which is bad news to the guys, those light cav up in the top right corner, I hope. Because now you can see the medium cav has managed to charge them. I think it's even a flank charge, and the spears are going up there to close them off. The chariot has advanced. I decided we don't need the shooting up there. What I could have done is shoot the light cav first. Maybe I did even. And then into penetrate. And they would get all their dice. It wouldn't count as moving. But maybe I had to do the wheel first. Anyway, hopefully the medium cav can sort them out. And I've got the light infantry also help me if needed. Shooting down the bottom. My crossbows finally open up on his cavalry. Miss completely. And no luck with the cavalry either. So shooting not going so well. But it's starting to look pretty good overall. If I can just win that melee in the centre. So really I think I got a bit lucky on the left hand side. Because the right hand side has been a shambles. So now they're incoming shooting. And my archers are taking some damage. I've just got to wait. If you can hold on a turn or two. If the guys in the middle do alright. The chariots are medium cav. Fresh. Hopefully we got the balance. So it's one of those crazy ones you get sometimes. We roll off. I roll a 4 against a 7. I took my reroll. Got a 7, which is a tie. Reroll. Free reroll. I got another 7. And I only got 6. So I didn't get initiative despite my best efforts. 3 sets of dice. I couldn't break a 7. Yep, so we're continuing to exchange blows in the difficult terrain. And I've done slightly better. I managed to get 2 hits with 3 dice, which helps. And 1 out on the cohesion rolls. So my brave boy's done me a favour and waded in, and he's rolled high on the cohesion test. And you can see the 3 red dots, which took those spearmen all the way down to 1. 1 off destroying them, which would have been a bonus. But it means now, even with my guys on 4, they're up against skirmishers and a 1, they can wade through there, and hopefully that shouldn't be a problem. So I do get the free pivot to face them on the pursuit, but didn't quite make it, but I think hopefully you can see those off the edge of the table. Right, getting back to the troublesome top right hand corner, and those like cavalry, they evaded the charge of my medium cav, and they had to wheel and charge to make it, so they disordered. The light cav evaded back to the edge of the table, and then of course on his turn he's promptly I think shot and then charged straight back in, taking advantage of the fact I am disordered. Luckily those infantry are going to come up. They might be useful as it turns out after all. And you can see the situation down in the bottom. Yes, the Seljuk medium cavalry in a world of pain there. The crossbows open up first. I think they managed to miss. So they didn't bother rallying. Want to get as many dice as possible. But then the medium cavalry shoot and charge. The moment you wait for. Disordered target. In you go. So a load of dice get thrown at them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dice. I think they're 5-2 cavalry. And 3 damage is caused. And now I can see there's a marker on the hand cavalry as well, and a disorder. So maybe that's why I didn't follow up, or I failed to follow up, but they've stayed there. I'm getting very close to breaking myself now. So the chariots come rolling in, and I want to get the melee back this way preferably, so the chariot can do the work. This has of course pushed those archers all the way out of the situation, which isn't the worst thing at this late stage, but it is a shame not to have those shooting. I didn't really handle those particularly well, as it turned out. Although they did do a couple of useful points of damage when needed. And I do think better than the large unit, definitely in this case. So I'd welcome comments on that, please. Over to the next turn. Then this is when you use your reroll, you see. We both rolled 3. Rogers kept his reroll up his sleeve and rolled 5. Yeah, so it's my turn to be the meat in the grinder. Both the Seljuk medium cav open up shooting first, do a couple of wounds straight away, and I really should have just gone for the follow-up. I guess I was trying to keep the... I think they were blocking the charges on the chariot, I suppose. So thank goodness the infantry in the centre did finally catch up with them and destroy them. You can see them being carried off the table, and the skirmishers are not going to catch those guys, but they've taken some more points, because I am very close to breaking, and so are the Seljuks. I think they're now 1 point off. And maybe Roger should have borne that in mind, because he's charged in there, hoping to break my medium cav, which is going to take another couple of points off me. Or was it 3? Anyway, I've got more points to lose. But you have to remember, it's not very clear on the photographs, but nearly all these units are battered up. I think my medium cav down to about 2 disordered. So I'm rolling a whole 1 dice back, so it's well worth taking the chance. So in there you go. My archers are getting out of charge range of his cavalry with a view to wheeling so they can start shooting over there. On we go with both armies very, very shaky looking. And again we go second, which is a shame. So we do this melee here. And boom, the light cav destroyed the medium cav. That light cavalry unit are heroes. They've held up, I don't know, 3-4 units of my guys the whole battle, destroyed the medium cav. What a nuisance. But they must have been exhausted. After all that they'd done, they'd had a busy day. They were worn out and they could not outrun or evade from the light infantry, which finally did something in this battle. And what a crucial thing they did, because that was the point needed to tip the Seljuk Turks over the break point. So it's just left then for Seljuks on their turn to try and break something. Actually rolled a 6 on my cohesion test, which is a bit of a pain with general and all that, but we got away with it. So there you have it. All the Seljuks are left with their sort of rich guys on the nice horses and some skirmishes. So I'm sure I can hear my cat in the background. Yeah, they're going to ride off, I'm sure, get another rabble to throw to the next pointless battle. So there we are. Hope you enjoyed that. 2 very interesting and powerful armies. Mobility, there's a strange game, wasn't it, really? So I'm not sure how much of a fair assessment of the armies it is. But there you go. We have it. Han Chinese win this one. And until the next time, keep rolling.
是否还能红着脸？就像那年匆促刻下永远一起那样美丽的谣言。如果过去还值得眷恋，别逃跑冰释前嫌。谁的心就这样彼此无挂也无牵？我们要互相亏欠。